Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Happily Ever After. Welcome to Community Christian Center. This is our marriage ministry night, and I like to call it the marriage gym, right, where we come to work out some stuff, right? We come to have some great conversations, and I have with us tonight our leaders, and they're going to share some great nuggets, some great strategies, and some great ideas. But before they come, I want to make sure I let you know who we are. So if this is your first time connecting with us here at Community Christian Center, we are changing people with the love of God. And that's the point and the purpose of everything that we do. Here we believe that life is better when we do it together. And we want to do life better together with you. So what we want to ask you to do, first and foremost, is if you're first time connecting with us, we ask that you click the like button and turn on notifications. If this is your first time with us on YouTube, we're going to ask you to subscribe. Help us reach 3C300 where we can share the love of Jesus Christ with as many people as we possibly can. We want to thank all of our subscribers and all of our followers for helping us accomplish everything that we've accomplished this year. This has been a great year for us here at Community Christian Center, and we want to continue to share all of those blessings with you. We start off by sharing with you what it is that we do. Why did God plant us at this corner? It's because he wanted us to win souls for Christ. And what we have here is we call it the SWAT team. That stands for Soul Winning Around Town. And we ask all of our partners to share with us any opportunity that they've had to share the love of Jesus Christ with somebody else. So I'm so excited. I got a SWAT report, right? We got a SWAT report in this week. 16 souls came into the kingdom this week. 16 souls. And more importantly than that, they were children, right? They were children, right? So affecting the next generation. So not only do we have an opportunity to worship and praise his holy name here, but we have a responsibility to share the love of Jesus everywhere we go. And so what we ask, if you are one of our partners, is if you're out and about and you have an opportunity to win a soul for Christ, simply let us know so we can keep track. Because our goal here at Community Christian Center, when we get in and stand in front of God on Judgment Day, we want to hear him say, "Well done, thy good and faithful servants." Amen? Amen. So we are so excited about all the things that are going on here. We want to keep you up to date. First and foremost, we'll be right back here tomorrow. We're actually doing some evangelistic work with YWAM. We're going to invite you to come out and evangelize with us from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Make sure that you connect with us so you could get all the information. How do you connect with us? Glad you asked that question. Here's what you do. Text the word welcome. That's welcome to 804-925-1466. That's welcome. 804-925-1466. 1466. You're going to get a Connect card. When you get that Connect card, it's going to ask you for two pieces of information. First, your name, because we want to do life better with you. Second, it's going to ask you for your email address. So we want to let you know that we can communicate with you. You'll get all the information about where we're going tomorrow, evangelizing and spreading the love of Jesus Christ. Then we want to invite you right back here Sunday morning at 10:30. Yes, our campus is open, so you can come on in and worship with us here. Social distancing, wear your mask. We will check your temperature at the door, but come on in and worship the Lord with us here, or join us again live on Facebook and YouTube. So now we got all the pleasantries out of the way. I want you to put one more date on your calendar. One more date on your calendar. October the 25th. Super Sunday. We're going to have a great time celebrating our third anniversary. We invite you out to worship with us Sunday morning at 10:30, October the 25th. Don't forget, Super Sunday, come on out and help us celebrate. Now, 31 years of marriage. Right? Okay? So an opportunity for you to glean some insight, a chance for you to hear some strategies. If you've never seen a successful marriage, here's an opportunity for you to take a look at one. And not only from a distance, but they're going to sit right here in these chairs and tell you how they did it. And more importantly than that, the God that they served that helped them and aid them and get into 31 plus years. So I'm not going to hold you any longer. Without further ado, introducing to some, and announcing to others our lead pastor, Pastor Julius White, and his wonderful, wonderful wife, our First Lady, Pastor Karen White. You guys give a round of applause. That's you right there.
Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. Hello. Hey, there we go. Say hello, baby.
Hello.
Yeah, look at that. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Happily Ever After. I guess there is a distinct difference. Nobody should be questioning or wondering who is who. You all right? Need some help? Sure. We're going to get you a booster thing to put your feet on. Then you could be all right, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. We back. Good evening. Man, and welcome to Happily Ever After. We are so grateful that you guys have stopped by, join in with the conversation, and that's what this is. It's all about the conversation, and it's about probably, what's wrong, baby?
I feel high.
Yeah, it's on your other side.
Okay.
You want me to get up and get it?
No.
You know, Pastor Joel is going to come help you.
Go ahead.
I don't know what I was saying because I was concerned about what was going on with you. Oh, yeah, because, you know, this is probably one of our favorite times and definitely our favorite small group because we are so committed to helping and to seeing healthy relationships flourish, especially in the body of Christ. As a matter of fact, because we have been blessed to endure good, bad, and indifference, and can testify of, 31 years. How many years have we been around each other?
37.
37 years. Your mom owe me some money. 37 years of friendship and 31 years of marriage. And you know, I'm grateful to God that he blessed me with such a wonderful helpmeet. And I'm grateful for her and her endurance to endure some pretty rough seasons as, you know, and matured and became.
You know, you say that so much, and which is, I love you for it, but just let me set the record straight. Maybe his stuff was just publicly out there, but it won't like I am an angel or I just didn't do anything. That's just not the truth. It's just that we endured each other in this. We endured each other. We endured each other.
Is that better?
I don't know.
I thought that was worse. I thought you didn't like that because they had no arms.
I just feel high, but we on live.
Well, I'm sorry. You know, it's my wife. And concerned about it. Baby, put the chair down. The chair goes down.
Okay, we will. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So tonight we're going to talk about some foundational truths, hopefully that hey, that help you in your relationship.
Okay, I'm good.
No, if he gets you the stool, you'll be better out of the bathroom.
I can sit like this.
No, he's gonna get you the stool. He's the little footstool out of the rest. Yeah.
See, and you were saying that live. This is the second time today that I had to use a stool, so I know I'm gonna hear that when I got my hair washed today.
Downstairs, Jay.
They was like, "You using a stool?"
Yeah.
They was taking pictures.
You're beautiful and your hair looks great, but you know, some of us are just height challenged.
I'm not.
Okay. So So tonight, right? Tonight, I want to talk about foundation of marriage, and one of the foundations of marriage is
Effective communication.
effective communication. So, if you're joining us, look, throw your answers up. If you're out here, we got a mic. We had a mic. Somewhere there's a mic. But that's what we want to talk about. And again, this is a dialogue, not a monologue. So feel free to jump in with feedback, questions, thoughts, comments, and let's get talking. Let's get into this. Now you look so much more comfortable, though. There you go. And you look taller.
I mean, it's my new friend back there really laughed. He laughed about 3 times since you said something.
He
That must be a bruh thing.
So effective communications, right? So let's get into it. Here's a question to everybody on tonight. Why is it so important?
You got to be able to hear each other.
Okay. You got to be able to hear each other. So, but why is it so? Why? Why is that important? Yeah.
You got to understand who I am, and I have to understand who you are.
Why is that important?
So we can grow.
So we can grow. So effective communication, right, becomes really the key cog to accomplishing anything, get this, in anything. Anywhere that there is that lacks effective communication automatically brings in a cloud of confusion, right? Will we agree with that statement? That wherever you lack, watch, make it personal to your relationship. And wherever you lack clear, concise communications, there's normally confusion in that area of relating. So watch this. If we are not in agreement or have clear and concise understandings about our finances, normally there is confusion around money. If we don't have an agreement or concise communications about how we're developing or raising our children, normally, especially if you're a blended family, it's big time confusion. So anywhere that you don't develop and maintain effective communications is an area or an opportunity for what? Confusion. And anytime we get in confusion, we eventually end up frustrated, separated, and if it goes long enough, divorce. And if you start talking to most people that have ended up divorced and like, what happened? You hear stuff like,
He won't listen.
he won't listen.
She won't listen.
She ain't understand me. Matter of fact, how many times have we said that? She don't get me. Man, I don't get it. She just don't understand what I'm saying. He don't listen. He don't never act like he get it. Or here's a big one on women's side. He don't never hear me. He don't hear what I'm saying. So it is like crazy how. Now, where Dietrich Hagen come from? Who invited him? Yeah, but I don't need Dietrich. I need him to stop. So this is crazy technology, man. But you just can't pop up and start talking. So watch this. Let's get into this. Let's define effective communication. Come on, we in the room. Everybody. Give me a word. Give me your one word for effective communication. Just throw out your word. What?
Listening.
Listening. Great. Key cog of effective communication is developing the skill to listen. Pastor K, give me something. If we're defining.
You got to hear too.
Okay. Thank you. Being able to hear. She said you got to hear. listening, you got to hear, being able to receive. Well, don't do one word. Okay, then come on then. You got to get the mic.
Effective communication would, to me, mean that we are translating what we mean to say in a way that that person can receive it.
That is good. That is outstanding. Sister Letitia says understanding. So that was her one word to go with it from Facebook. She said understanding. But, wow, that was, okay. We'll come back to them. So here's what I found as a definition, and it's pretty much right on point with what you were saying. So effective communication is communication between two or more persons wherein the intended message is successfully, look at these three pieces, it's successfully what? Delivered, received, and understood. So the keys to effective communication is what I'm saying has been what? Delivered, received, and understood. And if I'm missing any part of that, it has now become ineffective communication, right? So here's the sad thing, is that the ability to talk, to communicate one to another, is so important to the success of our marriages or our relationship or any business relationship, however you want to define it. It's so important, but it's so dreaded, right? Especially when we start talking about husbands and wives. Watch this. Watch. I think this is back. No, that's forward. Okay, this is back. Watch. If you tell him we need to talk, you look like this, and 9 times out of 10, if you tell him he needs to talk, he immediately takes this posture. Watch. His very thought is,
I ain't do it.
almost. Come on. What if ladies, if you tell him, come on. If you tell him Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, if you tell him we need to talk, what is his immediate thought?
It's a problem. It's an issue.
It's a problem. It's an issue. Fellas, what are all of us in our mind? What are we thinking?
What did I do wrong?
Bingo. Either I ain't did nothing, or what did I do? And then here's the funny thing.
I ain't do it.
Depending upon how, because here's the truth. If I'm not looking at you, and she said, we need to talk, I always say, huh, or what you say. No, there's a strategy. There's a strategy to me saying, huh, or what you say if I wasn't looking at her, and she says that. One, I want her to say it again. And there's a reason why, because I need to see the nonverbal communications that's going along with we need to talk. And I need to hear how it sounds, because we need to talk means so many things when it comes from a woman. If your boy told you, yo, bro, I need to talk to you, you ain't even worried about it. But the moment she says, I need to talk to you. See, what you say? Because if she said, I need to talk to you, that means I did something. That's the you did something tone. If she said, I need to talk to you, that means the kids did it, I'm all right. If it's, I need to talk to you, that means she did it, and she trying to figure out how to smooth it over. Or it's about to be a manipulation game. And if it's I need to talk to you, they ain't got nothing to do with the immediate family. That's some of the distant family. They did it. So my immediate response is, I need to figure out who did it. Now, if it's I need to talk to you, this is my next posture, because it's like, what I done did. And I took out the trash. I paid the bills. I ain't been nowhere. I ain't stayed out too long. I ain't had no money to spend. so it's immediately trying to figure out what's going on. And the sad thing about this is that conversating really should be what? It should be, watch this, times of intimacy. But because that we are such poor communicators, conversations becomes this. They become apprehensive moments when we're trying to figure out what I did or how to get out of what I did or how to blame her or how to switch this around so it's not on me, but it's on her. But if we ever get to the point of communicating effectively, I'm telling you there is such a great power that's associated with your effective communication. If we learn how to effectively communicate, get this, there is nothing that we can accomplish together. So what does that mean? That literally means that if the enemy, and we know we have an adversary, if he's after our relationship, if he's after our marriages, if he hates what God has put together, then the very place, watch this, that place of creativity is where he's going to look to attack to cause confusion. So the very place that we have to understand where the enemy is coming after us at is in our communication. Is this making sense?
Yes.
So what means what? That because I understand I have an adversary and I understand his strategy of where he's going to attack me, it becomes incumbent upon me to do what? Ensure that we are having effective communications. And again, if I can work this right, that means what? That the message is successfully delivered, received, and understood. So in everything, so watch this. So every time we go to sit down, if we don't get anything else out of this, every time we go to sit down and we say we're talking, whether it's business, pleasure, whatever it is, especially if it's business or of importance matters in our relationship, we need to make sure that when we get up to walk away, three things were accomplished. That whatever it was, the message that whoever was sharing, that it had been successfully delivered, received, and understood. And that's the problem, because so many times there's a whole lot of exchanging of words, but then we lack the assurance of what? That this conversation has been correctly delivered, received, and understood. So then we get up and we walk away and we start doing it. And now we find that we're not in agreement because we forgot to make sure that the three main factors of us being effective, of our effective communication, we hadn't paid attention to. That the message wasn't effectively delivered, received, or understood. So now we're in the middle of this thing that's going on and stuff starting to fall apart, and then you get, that ain't what I told you to do, or you get, I ain't know. Or why you mad at me?
Oh, I ain't say that.
A whole lot of, I ain't say that. That ain't what I said. That is what you said. And now the conversation is, or the argument is it what I said or is it what you heard?
Right. But then it goes back to how you say people receive stuff as well. Because if we're getting ready to talk and everything that I say, you take it in an offense matter, it's really not going to matter what I say because how you are receiving it.
Right, right. So what? So that means that's a key point. Because that now means that you're responsible for what you say, but I'm responsible for what I hear. And the truth is, especially when we bring emotions into these conversations, the truth becomes what? That I hear out of my emotions more than, out of a clarity or out of a sound amount of what you're actually saying. And then I got too much pride to come back and say, oh, my bad, that was on me. Oh, I thought you said. And because, again, you can't be accountable or responsible for how I hear it or what I hear. You know, you're as the communicator, as the sharer, you're responsible for how you share, but you're not responsible for how I hear.
I think one of the things that you have in there with effective communication too is both of us have to be in the conversation. So like if you're having a conversation with me and I'm not in the conversation, that is not an effective communication conversation because my mind is elsewhere. Earlier today, I was really frustrated. It didn't have nothing to do with my wife, but she wanted to have a conversation, and I was like, "Babe, I need to let you know I'm really, really frustrated right at this moment, and I don't want to take it out on you. So, like, give me a couple minutes and let me shake off, and then I'll pay attention to what you're talking about because otherwise you're gonna get." Right, and it ain't got nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
it ain't got nothing to do.
yeah.
So I'm not in a position to effectively communicate right at this moment, and so we need to put this off for a few minutes.
So that's good. That's good right there. So let's deal with that. How do you tell your spouse, I don't feel like talking?
Hold on, we gotta get you, Mike.
I like the way you said it right there, baby. I can't talk right now.
Right.
I'm not feeling good. I'm frustrated. Can we talk later?
So that's great, okay? Ladies, how did we receive that? And look, I know we on TV, but let's be honest. If you are in your emotions and this thing is pressing to you, is of importance to you, and his response is, I don't feel I need, hey, I need a moment right now. Now remember, it's an emotional moment. You're in your feelings. This is important to you. And his response is, say it again, bruh.
I need a moment, baby. I'm just not feeling good. I'm got a lot of stress on my mind. Can we talk later?
However, growing to a level of maturity, you give your wife or your significant other a timeline of when you are able and be in a position to communicate. It's not just open-ended. Like Joel said earlier, I need a couple minutes. I need an hour. Can we talk about it in the morning? It's not, I don't feel like talking about it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good because you have to, I think that you have to put
I like this.
parameters around that, even before that even happens. So say, look, babe, if let's talk about this, but if I say I need this, then I need this without you getting offended or whatever. Like for instance, we have this 15-minute thing.
The 15-minute rule.
Yeah, that when you walk in the door, the kid, whoever at the house, you got to give that person 15 minutes before you start going, I need this, 15 minutes. So if at 15 minutes I fall asleep, which most of the time I do, then you give them that 15 minutes. And
Somehow my grandchildren don't understand the concept of the 15-minute
I love the 15-minute
rule.
rule, but I am in total agreement with what Rodney said.
So we putting timelines. As a spouse that's receiving that, you're in your feelings. This is important to you. Let's be honest. Can you honor that, or does that?
Not all the time.
Okay.
No.
So but what happens there? How do we move forward? There to ensure that there at some point there is effective communication and that the message is delivered, received, and understood.
That you have to go back and be like, babe, remember when we talked about it? I said, if I say I need a moment, I just need a moment. It don't have nothing to do with you. So you have to get some, because we like what we hear. So I think you have to be able to say that, not just.
Well, I get saying it, baby. I ain't even arguing about saying it. I'm arguing about how it's received.
Right. So you see that I've received it where I got attitude.
Yes.
Right. So now come back and say, babe, it ain't about you. I just need a moment. I need a moment.
Okay. So that's your advice is to
For me and you, I don't know what am I. For me and you, that's what I need you to do.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Go ahead, Tima. Your mic's not on, is it?
Thank you. I think it matters how it's said. Now, if he says give me a moment, I'll give him a moment. It's not, I will have to remember, because I usually get 2 whole hours of a moment driving from DC to,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
here.
Oh, you're
I have
saying
plenty of time
you got
to
your time to
unwind
woosah and unwind in the car.
So the moment I see him, I'm, but he needs his moment too. If he simply says that and just realizes that he has to remind me of that, then he would receive it well. But if he were to say it's not about you, that would just change the whole trajectory of the conversation.
Really?
Just only because
It's always about her.
see, and that's just not the case. It's just that
I think-
just to keep it on the same straight path. Just
Right.
say, hey, I need a moment. That's it.
I think this is cool, and hey, if you're out there and you got something you want to share, a point that we should take into consideration, please post it. We'll be more than willing to share it in the house as well as to the other listeners and viewers. I think it's cool, but I think it really is, as Pastor Karen just said, I think that's when it becomes a very personal moment of how you and your spouse relate and understanding how you and your spouse relate. She just helped me with, okay, come back and assure me and remind me of what our boundaries or what our agreement is. And I think that's what we all have to figure out. And it's probably different house to house to house in that moment. But the big thing is to feel comfortable enough to be able to say, baby, I need a moment, because if not, you're going to get the frustrations from all day long, and it's not even about you, or it's not even fair to you. I really need a moment, which is why in our house we instituted the 15-minute rule. We just have some people in our house that just don't follow the 15-minute rule all the time. Amen.
I wonder who is that?
In Jesus' name. So my grandchildren cannot tell time. So again, they have no concept or concern about your 15-minute rule. You are Papa and you home, and immediately you should be in the floor with us. So let's continue, right? So one more time, effective communication is communication between 2 or more persons wherein, you got to get this, the intended message is what? Successfully. And here, that's the key. Successfully. How do you know it was successfully done? That the message, the thought, the concern was what? Properly delivered, received, and understood. And if we get up and walk away without ensuring any of those were done, 9 times out of 10, we've left the opportunity, or we left the place for confusion to creep in and just cause chaos, right? So here's what I find and what I love about this is that the God we serve is an effective communicator and has always proven himself to be, right? So, wrong way. Here we go. Couple of scriptures. What? I think 3 scriptures. Is that right? 3 scriptures. And that, I promise you, that's it. No more. 3 scriptures. This is Genesis. I believe this is King James. Genesis 1 through 3. And I just want you to see how effective of a communicator God was. So it says this: in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth was without form and was void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. An effective communicator, right? So when we look at God and understand that we are made in His image and likeness, what we understand is that we were created to be effective communicators. In the book of Romans, we're not turning to it, in the 4th chapter, we're commanded to speak those things to be not as if they already were, because why? We are effective communicators, and in our communication is creativity. So you got to get this. In your communications is your creativity. So your communications determines what you create. So if it's full of chaos, void, darkness, then normally, if that's your communication style, then what you're going to produce from that is confusion. When you look at this and you research this out, void and without form and void is not that it was not in existence. It is that it was in chaos. You got to get that. You literally have to research that out to find that it wasn't formed. It was that it was in chaos. Now, if you go to the book of Isaiah, if you go to the book of Revelations, you find out that Satan has already been kicked out of heaven and coming to the earth. And when he comes into the earth is now full with chaos, void, and without form. God calls the earth out. So he speaks order. So when we think about made in this image and this likeness, when we speak, when we're communicating, especially in our relationships, it's to create. Wow, now you got to understand why he tells us, let your words be seasoned with salt. Because if you lose it in communications, it's like seed being sown. You're going to reap a harvest from that. And here's the thing about words. That old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but
Words will never.
biggest lie ever told. Sticks and stones that break bones eventually heal up. Words that you plant, words that you sow will never go away. Man, she be pulling out stuff. Remember you said? Like I said, really? I said that? Yeah. She got a date, Reverend. She got a date and a day and a quote. Say the exact time you said such, and such. I'm like, man, words are so powerful. Your words are so powerful, and they create, either a blessed home or really a home that's a ball of confusion. And watch this. James says this, that the power of life and death is where? He says that the tongue is a small member, but kindles, James the 3rd chapter, kindles such a great fire. He said your tongue is like the rudder of a ship. The rudder of a ship is the smallest part of it, but it controls that whole great big old ship. So that's your tongue in your relationship. Unchecked tongue creates a fire that will consume everything that you're trying to do. And again, you can apologize all day long, but pulling back the effect of negative words, yeah. So how do we get past it? How do we deal with it? How do we ensure that our words are seasoned with salt and that they are creative and not destructive to our relationships? Give me some feedback. Give me some keys. Give me some, this is what we do. So y'all talk to me.
One of the things I think is helpful is processing and thinking before we speak. Versus, and I keep going into the level of, especially for men, the level of maturity, because I realized at one point I was intensely immature and would say anything out of my mouth. But now, especially speaking to my wife, I think it's really important, and my children and my 3 daughters, adult daughters, that I need to process and think before I speak and understand the magnitude of my words and the power of my words, how that affects my wife and my daughters based on how they view and see me as a leader and a man and a husband and a daddy.
Wow, that is so, man, that's great right there. Anybody else? Add to it. No fighting.
I think it's my turn. No. I think it's important to continue to talk because oftentimes we throw out something and think it's something effective, that it'll be received correctly, but and then realize later on down the line that they didn't really hear what I said. But if you continue to talk and keep talking to the extent that both understand what just occurred, I think it's important. Just continuing to talk. Don't just put it out there and leave it there. Just keep the conversation going. Keep explaining or keep defining or keep until there's a mutual point of understanding.
Okay. You guys?
No, everything was pretty well said there.
I think the other thing coming off of what Brother Gore was saying, that recognizing that everything doesn't need to be said verbally. Right? So when I was younger in marriage, I thought that I needed to respond verbally to everything. Now, a little salt, a little seasoning, I recognize that I don't actually have to say something every time. Sometimes I can just hug her, right? Right? Because I can't solve every problem. And as a man, you want to tell me what the problem is, and I'm going to fix it, right? But you can't fix all of them, right? And sometimes it's don't say nothing because you're going to say something stupid. So just hug her. You know what I'm saying, right? Hey, babe, right? Because it's like I can't do nothing about her crazy coworkers. I mean, literally, I can't fire them. I can't do nothing about that, right? So they're getting on your nerves today. Come on here. Let me give you a hug. And people forget that those nonverbal forms of communication can be just as effective, right?
Definitely.
So I can run my mouth and say, well, you should do this and you should do that. Well, she can't do none of the stuff that I'm suggesting because we want to keep the job, right? Right? And so it's like, well, let me just be quiet and give you a hug, right? And that, that's something that I learned, that you could use both verbal and nonverbal communications to effectively communicate.
What about you, Pastor K?
I'm in agreement with Pastor Joe.
You would be.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
With the kissing and the hugging and the love making. Love making will make you forget about all of it.
Now unto him who's able to keep us from falling and present you faultless.
We going home.
You know what? I really like what Gore said about, especially from men, honoring your wife and your daughters with your mouth. It's so important. Really, all your children, not like you should treat your son, but I'm just saying that because as the leader, as the head, as king, priest, and prophet of your home, your words carry that weight. There is honor to your words. So your words needs to be honorable. Honorable, and there needs to be a level of integrity attached to your word. One of the ways men lose effective communication is we break integrity. We'll say what we're going to do, and then we never fulfill what we just promised to do. And if you do it enough times, your wife loses the integrity for you in that area. So now your word don't carry. Watch this. The word, because here is the thought. You want to be seen as the leader of your house.
Amen.
But when you lose integrity, come on, man.
Yeah.
You lose that, you lose that position, and your words begin to diminish in the weight that they carry in your house. You never have to stand up and say you're the man of this house if you're a man of integrity.
That's right.
They will identify you. They will identify the level of integrity and the level of honor that's on your life that signifies that you're the man of the house. The very dude that has to beat his chest to declare who he is in the house is the very dude that's not.
Amen.
And I ain't coming there for nobody. I ain't at nobody. I'm just trying to help you. That if you got to stand up and say, this my house, and I'm the man of this house, and you ought to listen to what I say, is a very indicator that this not your house, you're not the man of this house, and there's nobody literally listening to what you say because they've watched what you do. So again, and Joe was talking about our nonverbal and how effective our nonverbals are. Well, you keep breaking your word. You keep taking a dishonorable posture with your family, and if eventually you will end up in an ineffective place of trying to communicate. They won't receive from you. Mm-hmm. They won't receive from you. Your children won't. Your wife definitely won't. They'll put up with you, but they won't receive from you.
That's right.
And there is a difference between you putting up from me and you receiving from me. So, yeah, cool. Somebody's hand was up? No. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No, I agree with everything that you said, but the other piece to that is my sons watch how I treat my wife
Yes.
and their sisters, and the thing that's big with me and Coach K can identify this. Pastor K, Coach K, and because she coaches, and our young men are so emotional, and getting my boys to understand that. This again, I keep using that word level of maturity because I hear them on the phones with, I guess, their girlfriends, and they're arguing, and I'm like, dude, why are you arguing like that? And I hate to put them in a boat of being not strong as a male, but I think men that are mature, that are men, they don't go back and forth in that type of argumentative road that's hurtful. They're a lot more mature, understanding, and use wisdom. And be respectful at the same time. But I just think teaching our young men, I'm big about that, being so, versus being operating in that emotional spirit and being a lot more grounded and in reference to their communication.
Yeah, we could go with that emotional part, especially speaking words that hurt and harm. You know, we go over there to Ephesians, where is it? Is that 5? Yeah, 5. And you get down towards the end of the chapter where Paul starts to admonish and says that the man that hurts his wife is literally the man that hates himself. And that's the truth, you know. And then you think about it. Think about it. The closest person to you is normally the person that gets all that emotional, unchecked, unbridled. Yeah. So now you're taking out stuff on your wife that has nothing to do with her. And it's because that so many times when it's that hurt, when it's that abuse of hurt, it's because about something that's unchecked in me. Mm-hmm. And in the early stages of our marriage, I told you I struggled to be a good husband. I just wasn't good at it. Okay. I used to tell her, this ain't got nothing to do with you. And like, you can't tell your wife that when you out and you really messing up and the mess ups affect her, you know, and start making her question her and wonder about how she looks and this, that, and the other. And it was so hurtful to see her trying to be something she wasn't because she thought that's what I was looking for or that's what I needed. But the truth is, it didn't have anything to do with her. And it wasn't until I went and got some counseling. Yes, listen to what I said. I went and got some counseling. I went and got some help, you know, that I started to understand that this was a lot of my brokenness and a lot of unchecked, you know, stuff that was happening in me that literally had nothing to do with her, that was coming out in some unacceptable manners and ways. And when she was, why do you do that? And I would say, I don't know. And she thought I was making an excuse. The truth is, I literally did not know why I was doing it, because I would tell myself before I did stuff, this is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to be doing. But at the end of the day, I was like Paul. The things that I didn't want to do is what I found myself doing. The things that I did was what I was struggling. Oh, wretched man am I. But it literally was the fact that there was some issues in me that I had not dealt with that was really causing us, especially in our communication, area of communication, was just horrible. And it set up some really horrible years. I don't know how she endured. She was saved, y'all.
I wasn't. Not the whole time. But to even
What do you mean you won't?
I won't save the whole time.
Oh, I thought you was going to tell some secrets here, like we was on Jerry Springer. I thought we were gonna have a Jerry Springer moment up.
Dog, rainy
The
night.
bell, ding, ding, ding.
You funny. But one of the keys is, I think, that with the communication with couples and that's looking to get married, those that are watching, is that I think some of it we can combat by having counseling before we get married. And I think that a lot of people don't think that they need it, or they might take 2 sessions and think that they are ready to get married. I would tell you that, if you've set a date and you haven't set and got into counseling, something is wrong. If it's a year from now, then you need to be doing counseling up until then. Because just because you live with that person or you've dated that person, it's still so much more that you can learn about that person. And that you need to know, because there are questions that I know that if we would have sat down and probably talked to someone before we got married, I really feel that a lot of our things that we went through, we wouldn't have went through as much. That's why we are so adamant about anybody that comes to say, hey, Pastor, will you marry us? Is that, okay, you need to set up these counseling sessions. And if you don't finish them, I'm not saying that y'all shouldn't be married, but I know we won't marry you. Because if we don't help people make that a priority, then I think that we are failing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't even marry couples without, it's part of it. So, yeah. Cool. So, all right, y'all, we doing good. I'm going to learn how to work this sooner or later. So here's the problem.
That one don't work.
No. So here's the thing. Most of the times when we get lost in our communications is that we forgot the something. There's a reason that we're together. Why y'all something? I just love something about him. I just love something about her. It's something about him that makes me feel good. It's something about it that gives me a confidence. There's something about it that makes this special. It's been a lot of girls, but it's something about her. It's something. It's always something. Mm-hmm. But when we fall out of communications, effective communications, 9 times out of 10 is because we've lost focus on the
Something.
So now before you get lost in your communication, before you get to the place that things are so chaotic, remember to find the something. Look for it back under the bed, get it out the closet, get it out the junk drawer, get it out that pocketbook that you had last week. Your something becomes like that old piece of peppermint. It's somewhere in there with all that lint on it. And you need to find the something. Because that something is that very thing that galvanizes us, that keeps us working. It keeps us striving to be better. It keeps us coming back to the table, even when things are going wrong. And the something is the very thing that we can find agreement of that rekindles the spark. There's something. So here's the thing. All of us, why are you giggling? All of our somethings, you nasty. All of our somethings are different. That's y'all first lady.
Wait a minute. I didn't even say anything.
31 years, and you ain't got to say nothing. Keep that same spirit when happily ever after is over.
Sleep.
I come against sleep right about.
Now, you brought up a very valid point, because if you don't have something to measure something against, and I know I'm using the word over and over, but that's what pushes you through, right? Like, I would start this argument, but the thing I want to argue about really don't matter. Who she is to me is more important to me than this particular thing right now that's getting under my skin. And if I stay focused in on the something, it makes all of those other little things not as big.
Right.
But if you always focus in on the negative thing, it will outshine the something.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself looking for the something someplace else.
So key to your effective communication is why we always say, where's your vision board? Where's your vision? Did you write it? Because it's the place where we can come and get recentered in our communications. But if we lack vision, if it's not written, Habakkuk 2 tells us to write the vision, make it plain. Why? That those that are supposed to get involved with it can. It's hard especially when you're making sacrifices. Like we're in this thing now where we're getting ready to start to make tremendous amount of sacrifice, but it's because we have a common goal. Mm-hmm. So now watch, I gotta get the vision of the goal in front of my family, and I also have to get the vision written. Why? Because when that distractor comes, and it will, that pulls us off or wants us to go over here and get off track or use money in a place that's not a part of the vision at this time, you got to be able to come back to the table when you say no and say, but remember, this is what, let's refocus, let's recenter. Remember, let's get back in a place of agreement. Let's talk the same talk again. Let's get back into the same language with the same focus about the same goals. So you got to have your something. There's something, again, it's the thing that regalvanizes, it revitalizes. It's that energy place is when I could go back and remember our somethings. And it's the same reason why you check off your accomplishments. Yeah. So we got some things we need to pay out because we want a house and we want to build our own house and we want it our house. We don't want it the builder's house. We want Karen and Julius's house. Mm-hmm. So we need some money. So it's some stuff we got to get accomplished because for us, that's big for us. That's one of our main goals. So we can't afford to get distracted about the shiny cars or the brand new, or the newest tennis shoes or the newest boots, Which is why you write the vision and make the plane right here, So
he said he crossed the line.
Like that joker done lost his mind. So I was with him until we got to the tennis shoes. So if we, Genesis again, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the whole of the waters, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So remember, we talked about effective communication. We said the 3 keys to effective communication was what? It's delivered, what else? Received. And understood. So when God is talking, we get evidence of something being what? Delivered, received, and understood. So here's what you notice. Always, this is why your something is so important. When he wanted to see what he wanted to see, key one was what?
He said.
Something was said. So the start of our effective communication is what? Something of importance is being said. The second key is what? Right button. Something was received. So watch. There's void and without form. Mm-hmm. And he speaks to what? This void, formlessness, and darkness. And God speaks. Now we know that the earth received what he said.
That's right.
Because it says that the next thing that happened was the Spirit of God hovered or began to move. Mm-hmm. So we know that something was said, something was received, something moved, the Spirit of God moved, and lastly what?
Something manifest.
Something manifest. So whenever we are having effective conversation, we got 4 keys that we can always expect to take place. Something is going to be said. Something is going to be received. Something is going to happen or move. Something is going to manifest. The only variable is what is your something.
That's right.
So you're either going to sow seeds of clarity and effectiveness, or you're going to sow seeds of confusion. But no matter what you sow with your words, there's going at the end of it, there's going to be a manifestation, there's going to be a harvest. The key to it is to ensure that in your relationship, the conversations that you're having, the things that you say to your wife, the same things that you're saying in your house, the same things that you're saying to your children are actually the things that you want to manifest. Why? Because your words carry power. They carry authority. They are the key success to any relationship, but especially your marriage. You know what? I'm done. I'm done. Thoughts, comments, concerns, questions? Anybody on Facebook? Anybody here? Y'all got any insights?
So the question I have focuses around those keys, but when we got to talk about something uncomfortable, right? So having effective communication when we're talking about something easy, I said something, I received, I moved, I'm at, right? It don't flow quite that smoothly when the topic is a little bit more challenging. So, so my question boils around is, how do I make sure that I'm effectively communicating in a way that can be received? Or what happens if what we discuss come on the manifestation side of the coin doesn't manifest?
Don't you just love her? Okay, so you gave me a two-part question.
I did.
So let's deal with the first part of dealing with things that are uncomfortable,
Right.
right? Conversations that are uncomfortable. I'm sure we've all had them. But watch this. The model doesn't change. Because even though this is uncomfortable conversation, I still want the same outcomes. And the model still is such that it is. Something has to be said. Now watch this. I may have to say it totally differently.
Right.
I may have to set up a whole nother atmosphere to say it in. That's just wisdom. But something still has to be said. And now, even more, because it is an uncomfortable conversation, I have to ensure that my words are tactful, seasoned with salt, because I want to ensure that the right thing is received. But something still, watch, because the only reason I'm broaching this, even if it is a difficult conversation, is because the outcomes need to change. And the outcomes are not going to change if we don't enter into this conflict. So now I have to be more tactful, but the model doesn't change. I still have to say something. I still need the individual to receive the right thing and receive it in the right spirit, which again is incumbent upon me. So I got to make sure I'm sowing it the right way so that she or he receives it the right way. Something still needs to happen because that's the crutch, that's the crutch of having the conversation. We have conversations that are very uncomfortable. They are challenging to me. But I enter into that conflict because I'm concerned about my wife's health and her well-being. So I'm willing to engage. Now, I've learned a lot in 31 years. I've learned that if the question arises as does this make me look big? The answer is never yes. A young me didn't know that. This shit on this flower thing, this make me look big. Yeah! Yo, bud, look at you. Oh, boy. You calling me? No, I thought I was just answering. No. Watch this. Just a lack of tact. Just a lack of tact. Your delivery. So even though there is uncomfortable conversation.
Said your answer would always be no.
Huh?
You said that
He
your
was saying
answer
something.
would always be
The guest,
no.
No, he was saying something.
So
John, can
as
you check
the
his mic?
pastor, of 3C Ministry,
Yeah,
2213
his
National
mic,
Street.
his mic is on. He got a
Are
point.
you saying that you lie?
No, he's not saying he lies. He's saying it's like that Snickers commercial. He's eating the Snickers, and that's what it was about.
Yeah, yeah. Eating Snickers. That's what it's all about. And besides, the pastor never lies to you.
So as my husband, you're telling me that you are going to lie.
He not here.
My husband not?
Yeah. He be at home, and y'all can address that at home. Right now, the pastor is here, and the pastor is and the pastor is having this conversation right here. He got a very important, pressing question in front of him. So did
Yes,
that
you
work
you
through
answer-
it?
you
So
answer
then,
my
what was the part B?
Well, the second part of that was on the manifestation side, right?
Right.
So, like, we had the first parts of the process, and now we're at, manifestation, but it's not manifesting in the methods or the processes or the way that we had discussed. And I know you go back, Team always says we just keep talking is what we do. But sometimes people don't do that. Like, they get stuck, right there, and they struggle with, I'm looking for some change. I'm looking for a different result. We keep talking, but don't nothing ever happen.
That's a great point. And the funny thing is that people forget that in most cases they sown more weeds than seeds. And you can't see the fruit of the seed because of how high, because of the height of your weeds. But if you ever, watch this, if you ever just get to the point that you're tending to the seed and not, watch this, not continuing in the weeds, your seed will produce greater than your weeds. But we forget it's a process. So though we got vision, we're putting in effort and work, it's still a process of seed, time, and harvest. And you do have to outgrow. It is our relationship, 31 years. And for the longest time, we could only talk about the 14 years of struggle, the 14 years of struggle, the 14 years of struggle, because the years of struggle outweighed the years of celebration. And we're finally to the point that we have been married, happily married, longer than we were frustrated married. And now, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But if we would have given up in the season of frustration, we would never gotten to this season of celebration. But we had to endure the season of weeds to now be able to enjoy the season of our fruit. So it's happening. You continue to talk, continue to go back, continue to see, then acknowledge the growth. See the fact that, hey, I see some breakthrough,
Because sometimes, it's just like pruning.
Pull your mic up some.
It's like pruning. It doesn't look good when you're pruning a tree or when
Right.
you're pruning something.
Yeah.
It looks barren, it looks ugly, but you keep doing it, and at the end, man, look at the result of
Yeah,
it.
and that
because
next
I've been-
season, yes.
Yeah, I've been staying at it.
Right. So, yeah, sometimes you just got to outlive your weeds.
We got a Facebook question. It says, I know we are to remember the something. When you have forgotten, what are some pointers to get them to remember?
So watch this. This is why, like, one thing that we need to get back to that I really used to enjoy was just personal moments of intimacy where nothing else, no TV, no nothing. And if I sat on the floor and we read together, or it was just that real personal conversation time. And we let life get so busy that we forget really the most important things in our life, like us, like our marriage. So I think when that something is missing, you got to go back. And now you got to prioritize it. You know what I'm saying? You got to build in time for it. You can't get that busy that you busy yourselves past one another. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't get that busy. We're gonna do a series together called Pull a Talk with Pastor K and Pastor J, or Pastor J and Pastor K, called Pull a Talk. But all we want to talk about is intimacy. Not so much sex, but intimacy. Because one of the keys that's been lost in marriage is the art of intimacy, or being intimate. Not sexual, intimate. And I think, you know, even with your something, is to get back to having that personal time, that intimate time, that time where we rehash our dreams. Because life can beat you up, and you will lose your dreams. You will lose your hope for. It's just like Joe was saying, what happens when we're working and we don't see it? It's Proverbs 12 or Proverbs 13 that says about a hope deferred. It's like an upset summit, but when it comes through, it's like a tree of life. So, and that's what it is, you know, that hope deferred, man, is problematic. So when this is happening, this is why, again, we write the vision board. We revisit the vision boards. You know, our families are like businesses, but we don't have business meetings. But we want our families to flourish. We don't have planning sessions, but we want our families to flourish. You know, we don't have dream talk, but we want our family to flourish. Come on, here's the worst mistake you can make, to think any of this is automatic. It's not. It's not. Not when I understand I have an adversary that hates my marriage. If God honors it, you got to know the devil hates it. Hebrews, the 13th chapter, right around the 3rd or the 4th verse, says that marriage is honorable. So God is placing honor on marriage. That's how much the devil hates yours. And the greatest thing, I mean, one of his greatest tools is that spirit of confusion, where we turn and victimize one another. That's why your effective conversation allows us to work through all that to the point that we don't turn on one another. Yeah. Your spouse should never be seen as your adversary. So
to answer that, so if they
you got to pull your mic up, woman.
No, I'm asking you because you didn't. They said if they couldn't find it.
If they couldn't find it, I thought I answered that. Okay, read it to me again, because I'm thinking I answered the question.
I know we are to remember the something. When you have forgotten, what are some pointers to get them to remember?
Yeah, that's so. Didn't I answer it?
Yes.
Thank you.
For the most part.
Okay. We good? All right. Are y'all good? Anybody else with anything else? Are we finished? Anybody else have any remarks? Anything you want to share before we?
Yes. I think this is excellent and much needed. It's an atrocity that 50% of the marriages end in a failure in this time that we're living in. I think for younger folks that are looking to marry, not necessarily younger folks, but being able to identify appropriate partner and what they're looking for, going back to like what Pastor K was talking about, the counseling sessions. I think those are essential. It worked for my wife and I. We went through a counseling session and got to know each other a little bit better. Some things we were weak, we worked on getting stronger in those areas. And I think going back to a person's childhood, because if they come out of a dysfunctional situation where there wasn't intimacy, they were have a people-pleasing attitude. And that goes back to when my wife asked me, I'm with you, Pastor, about, does this look good on me? What do you think? I said, yeah, honey, it looks good. She said, you always say that. So what am I supposed to say? But my point is, it's a people-pleasing mindset because I want everything to be right. I want everybody to be happy. Yeah. And sometimes that is not the best way of dealing with things. And I don't like conflict. So my wife, we're riding down the street. She said, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, oh, gosh. And it's that thing I'm driving. I go, She said, what's on your mind? I'm like, I'm not ready to share it. But, you know, I'm not ready to share with her because I haven't worked through the conflict. And when I work through it, then I'm going to share the solution with her. But that's part of that masculinity thing that we all have to work through.
Right.
So that's my piece.
Cool. Anybody else? You know, that's funny. Okay, go ahead, Sister Go.
Before he even was going to share that, I just wanted to say that we need to make sure every time we sit down to have a conversation, it's not because we have a problem. We need to make time for check-in conversations. How are you doing? How is work going? Those types of things. Because that way, Joel, when couples do sit down and it is a difficult conversation, it helps it because you've already developed some communication skills and you've had some time to sit down and talk, and it's not a conflict, so that might help them to better receive it, because otherwise my mindset is, oh, here we go again. There's always a problem. Yep. So that's why
great.
we got to set that foundation for having some positive communication, and that'll help us deal better with those situations that can cause more conflict.
And you won't look like this every time it's time to talk. I need to talk to you. Who? John? You got a question or you stretching? Oh, he's stretching. Yeah. Oh, you asked me a question about how I'm going to say you look, or I'm always going to say you look good. Yes, I'm always going to say you look good. And I make sure because I go shopping for you. So if I buy your clothes, if I buy your clothes and you wear them, yes, you always look good to me. Oh, man, listen, hey, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. Hope it was helpful. Listen, if you want to connect with us here at Community Christian Center, if you want to connect with Happily Ever After, you don't have to be a partner of our church. We'll be so excited to have you partner with us. We're going to start a private Facebook group for this small group, so we can have a little more intimate conversations on Facebook, some private conversations, but also to know that there is a support for you and your marriage. Listen, I can't share all of our testimony now, but I can tell you this. If God could give us wisdom to still be married 31 years later, they were taking bets that we wouldn't make it, 1 year? And they were, literally, they were taking bets that we wouldn't make it a year.
At our wedding.
And 31 years later, God has given us a wisdom that allows us to still be here. Finally can say without a shadow of a doubt, living happily ever after. That God can do it, and give us that wisdom and that insight and that understanding to make that happen. I don't care where you are in your relationship. Listen to me, because we were definitely at the breaking point when wisdom began to unfold, and God didn't come down from heaven and do it, but he sure began to work in us. And we really begin to put forth the work to have a great marriage. And I don't care where you are. I don't care what you're going through. If the both of you come together in the spirit of agreement and make up your mind that you want to live happily ever after and are willing to do the work, underline that, willing to do the work, I know you can do it. I know you can make it. We want to be here to coach, to help, to mentor, to walk alongside of you as you're doing that. So connect with us by simply texting the word HAPPY to 804-925-1466. And when you do, you're going to get a Connect card that's going to ask you for 3 pieces of information. It's going to ask you for your name, your phone number, and the email address. Cell phone number and the email address. Woo, I hadn't done that in a while. And we want you to complete the card fully, so we're not praying or trying to reach out to a blank cell phone number, but that we are connecting with you. And give us the opportunity to share our vision and our mission here at 3C with you, that life is better when we do it together. So let's get connected. Simply text that, again, text the word HAPPY to 804-925-1466. Please complete the card fully, and let's do life better together. Pastor Jay, is that it? Hey, that's it. Thank you guys again. I'm Pastor Jay. This is my lovely wife, Pastor Kay. Look forward to being with you guys next time for Happily Ever After. Love you with the love of the Lord. Peace.